There's a paradox at the heart of peak performance that most people never discover. And once you understand it, you'll stop exhausting yourself trying to force results and start achieving more with what feels like less effort. Have you ever noticed this pattern? You sit down determined to be productive. You push yourself hard, force concentration, fight through every task. But by midday, you're mentally drained, scrolling your phone, and getting less done than someone who seemed to barely try. Meanwhile, there's always that one person who glides through their day, accomplishing more than everyone else, yet they never seem stressed or burned out. In ancient China, Taoist philosophers discovered something that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to validate. They called it Wu Wei, effortless action. And when you understand how it works, you'll never again mistake exhausting yourself for being productive. But here's what you need to know up front: this isn't about working less. It's about rewiring how your brain approaches work entirely. And that makes you dangerous. Before we dive in, subscribe to Rewired System, hit that like button, and comment below: what's draining your energy most right now, overthinking your tasks, forcing yourself to focus, or constantly switching between projects? Let me know. Now, let's get into it. Let me tell you about Marcus, a software developer at a tech startup in San Francisco. Marcus was the definition of a grinder. He'd arrive at the office at 7 a.m., mainline coffee until midnight, and pride himself on his hustle mentality. His productivity system was military grade. Time blocking every 15 minutes. Pomodoro timers. Productivity apps tracking every keystroke. His calendar looked like a Tetris game designed by someone with severe anxiety. But here's what was actually happening: Marcus was producing half the output of his colleague Sarah, who left the office at 5 p.m. every day and never seemed stressed. During code reviews, Marcus's work was riddled with bugs. He'd spend hours forcing solutions to problems, creating increasingly complex workarounds. His code looked like someone trying to solve a maze by destroying every wall in their path. The breaking point came during a critical product launch. Marcus had been working 80-hour weeks. He knew every line of code in the project. But when a major bug appeared at 2 a.m. before launch, his mind went blank. The solution should have been obvious, but exhaustion and pressure turned his brain into static. Sarah fixed it in 20 minutes. Here's what Marcus didn't understand, and what might be destroying your productivity right now: your brain isn't designed to operate under constant forced effort. The harder you push when you're already depleted, the worse your output becomes. You're not building productivity. You're building resistance. And maybe you're like Marcus. Maybe you've convinced yourself that productivity means fighting through every moment, forcing concentration, grinding until you collapse. But what if everything you've been taught about productivity is actually the exact opposite of how high performance works? After burning out completely, panic attacks, insomnia, the works, Marcus ended up in therapy. His therapist asked him one question that shattered his entire worldview. When was the last time you solved a difficult problem while trying hard to solve it? Marcus thought back. The breakthrough features he'd built. The elegant solutions to complex bugs. Every single one came during moments when he'd stopped forcing it. During a walk. In the shower. Right before falling asleep. Never while he was clenching his jaw, guzzling Red Bull, and staring at his screen with desperate intensity. His therapist explained something that would change everything: your brain has two modes, effortful control and flow state. You've been spending all your time in the first mode, wondering why you're not accessing the second. This is what ancient Taoists understood 2,500 years ago, and what modern neuroscience now confirms: Wu Wei, or effortless action, isn't about being lazy. It's about working with your brain's natural rhythms instead of against them. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford, has spent years studying optimal performance states. His research shows that when you force concentration through willpower alone, you activate your sympathetic nervous system, your stress response. This floods your brain with cortisol, narrows your cognitive bandwidth, and makes creative problem-solving nearly impossible. But when you enter a state of relaxed focus, Wu Wei, you activate your default mode network, the neural circuitry responsible for insight, creativity, and pattern recognition. Here's the brutal truth: every time you try harder when your brain is already exhausted, you're actively making yourself dumber. Marcus started experimenting. Instead of forcing himself through his task list like a machine, he began working with his energy, not against it. First shift: strategic surrender. When he hit a wall on a problem, instead of grinding through it, he'd switch to a completely different activity. A walk. A different project. Sometimes even a 20-minute nap. His manager thought he was slacking. But something strange happened. The problems he'd been stuck on for days would suddenly have obvious solutions the moment he stopped forcing them. Second shift: energy-based scheduling. Marcus stopped scheduling tasks by arbitrary time blocks and started scheduling by energy type. Deep analytical work during his peak cognitive hours in the morning. Creative brainstorming after lunch. Routine tasks when his energy dipped. Third shift: single tasking with intention. No more toggling between 15 browser tabs. One task. Full presence. Then complete disengagement before the next one. Within 3 months, Marcus was outperforming his previous output by 200%, while working 30 fewer hours per week. But here's what really changed: he stopped feeling like he was fighting himself. Productivity stopped being a battle and started being a rhythm. He wasn't forcing water uphill anymore. He was redirecting the river. This is Wu Wei in action. It's not about eliminating effort. It's about eliminating unnecessary resistance. Here's what's actually happening in your brain when you practice Wu Wei. When you force productivity through pure willpower, you're relying on your prefrontal cortex, the most energy-expensive part of your brain. It's like running a marathon in a full suit of armor. You can do it, but you'll exhaust yourself quickly. But when you work in alignment with your natural rhythms, rested, focused, switching between effort and recovery, you start recruiting your basal ganglia. These are your brain's automatic pattern recognition systems. The neural pathways that allow expert musicians to play without thinking, athletes to react without conscious decision-making, and programmers to code in flow state. You're transitioning from conscious effort to unconscious competence. And that's where real productivity lives. Cal Newport, who studies deep work and productivity, found that top performers in any field work in rhythms: intense focus followed by complete disengagement. They don't try to maximize every hour. They maximize their peak hours and protect their recovery. The paradox: you become more productive by doing less forceful work. So how do you actually implement this? Here's what worked for Marcus and what you can start today. Identify your resistance patterns. Notice when you're forcing. When you're pushing through with willpower alone instead of working with clarity. That feeling of grinding? That's your signal to stop, not push harder. Create strategic disengagement rituals. Every 90 minutes of focused work, take 15 minutes of complete mental disengagement. Walk. Stretch. Stare at nothing. Your brain needs oscillation between focus and diffusion. Honor your energy architecture. Stop treating every hour as identical. Your brain has natural peaks and valleys. High-stakes cognitive work goes in your peaks. Everything else fills the valleys. Practice single-pointed attention. One task. No background noise. No multitasking. Full presence until completion or natural stopping point. Then complete release before the next task. Build recovery into your system. Sleep isn't laziness. Rest isn't weakness. Your brain literally consolidates learning and problem-solving during downtime. Elite performers protect their recovery as fiercely as their work. Here's the truth most productivity gurus won't tell you: you don't have a productivity problem. You have a resistance problem. You're not lazy. You're exhausted from fighting your own nature. Wu Wei isn't about doing nothing. It's about removing the friction between your effort and your results. It's about working with your brain instead of against it. Marcus now runs his own company. His team works 35-hour weeks and outproduces competitors working twice those hours. His secret? He built a culture around Wu Wei. Maximum focus during work. Complete presence during rest. No glorification of exhaustion. The question for you is, how much energy are you wasting right now trying to force productivity instead of creating conditions for flow? You have the capability. You have the knowledge. But without Wu Wei, you'll spend your life exhausting yourself for half the results. Wu Wei isn't a hack. It's a rewiring. And every time you choose alignment over force, you train your brain to operate at a higher level with less resistance. If this video helped you see productivity differently, subscribe to Rewired System and turn on notifications. Drop a comment telling me, what's one task you've been forcing that you could approach with Wu Wei instead? And check out the video on your screen next, it'll show you how to build unshakable focus using neuroscience-backed techniques. Remember, the most productive people aren't the ones trying the hardest. They're the ones who've learned to stop fighting themselves. If you made it this far, thank you. See you in the next one.